Is there anything else I could provide to Rams Media? Just let me know.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Terozine, and this is RamView, the June 9th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right. I thought my whining was over last Friday. I got some nice responses. You guys didn't think it was whining. So I'm just seeing stuff that we've been talking about for the spring popping up everywhere. And I'm like, hey, man, when do I get my residual check? Right? Now, I'm not saying anyone directly lifted off of me. And I'm not trying to accuse anybody of that. I'm not saying no one's going to come to this site and say, Joe said this, let's get it out of here. But what I am saying, and again, I think this just reinforces what I've been talking about, is that you can't discount your opinion or your thoughts just because somebody in the KBM is getting paid to do it, right? And even if I said, I'm getting paid a little bit here, but and that's not a shot at sponsors, but you got a valuable opinion. So now Jordan Rodriguez is talking about Emmanuel Forbes, and Locked On Rams picked it up and started talking about Emmanuel Forbes. I want my residual check, since we were talking about Emmanuel Forbes back in January. Yes, I'm a tad bit bitter, right? And Rodriguez is good. She's really good at what she does, and she's somewhat considered an oracle for Rams football. Risk your own, go at your own risk, take shots at Jordan Rodriguez. I get it. But, man, they're walking in the tracks we put down back in January. So I'm going to count on you guys. Give me some props around Rams Media and say, hey, man, we were calling it. Now, you don't have to say just Joe T. You could just say the cats at RamView were calling this way back when. Get with the program. Because it's not really necessarily about having material that nobody else has. It's the prescient, the attitude of just, or the ability just to look at a roster, why they did things, what they're doing, and you've got that ability. And so I just want to, in my bitterness, also reinforce yours. All right. So Rams, perfect timing. They're about to get out of Dodge with LA burning right now, and go have some workouts in Hawaii. I'm sure they're thrilled about that. I'm sure they're probably going to take as much of their family with them as they can. Just for the record on that, I am in the San Gabriel Valley, and if I didn't watch the news or follow social media out here in the San Gabriel Valley, we wouldn't even be aware there were riots going on, okay? Because I know we got people from Sweden, Denmark, England, Indonesia, Costa Rica, Canada, and different places, Philly, Florida, that are subscribers to this podcast. And not everyone's asked me, but people do ask me. They say, hey, are you affected? No. When the Rodney King riots happened, all those years ago, we literally smelled the smoke. And still, we weren't touched by it. LA is just a huge – in fact, folks, there's just no LA. There's really nothing in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not a destination. They've tried to make it with the crypto and everything. But in any circle I've ever been in, and most of the circles I know, I'm going to LA. Disneyland's in Anaheim. Dodger Stadium is about the extent of it. The beaches aren't LA. Even Inglewood is not LA. So we're sorry the riots are happening. That's not my business to talk about it here. But just to clear it up, we are not, as of right now, not affected at all. Looking around, a lot of 2026 mock drafts right now. And I don't know if you got burned out, but I was burned out on 2025 mock drafts. And I just don't understand mock drafts for the Rams in 2026 or for any other team, right? And I understand. Things are slow. Things aren't happening. If you didn't have the ability to foresee the rise of Emmanuel Forbes, you're lost and you're looking for something to write about or talk about. But what will the Rams do in the 2026 draft? they're going to do what the 2025 season dictates for them to do, right? And then they're probably only going to do 75% of that, right? We thought for sure, oh, they'll take another lineman. We thought for sure they're going to do this. They're going to do that. Rams always have a way of surprising you. So outside of quarterback, being that it might be Matthew Stafford's last season, I really, with 2 number 1 picks, 2 first-round picks, and not knowing where the Falcons are going to rise to or tumble to, why are we talking about this, right? The 2025 season will dictate what the 2026 draft will look like. Looking at the Rams roster right now, and there's just, not a lot of stuff going on, but looking at the Rams roster and the phrase goes, who's going to make it off the beach? I mean, who's going to get out of August alive and still on the roster? And, I think this is the last rodeo for Troy Reeder. We're hearing a lot of good things about the UDFAs the Rams signed this year. They brought in Nate Landman from Atlanta. And Omar Speights is going to develop. If Reeder is playing significant snaps this year, that's not a good thing for the Rams. Okay, that's just not a good thing. He's got savvy. He's got smarts. Hard worker, blue collar guy. I don't mind if he's on the team. I just don't want him playing over 500 snaps, right? I want Speights to develop, and I want Landman or some of these other guys that we brought in these UDFAs. We want to see them develop and play. If Reeder is still playing significant time, that means that linebacker room has not progressed. And we all saw it. Roseboom was better than Reeder last year. Roseboom had a really nice year, got a little bit more of a contract to move on. Good for him. But we don't want to see Reeder playing too much this year. Let him join the coaching staff. Everyone likes him. AJ Akuri, it could be the last roundup for him, given they brought in Quisenberry. Warren McClendon is there. KT Levinston could be a swing guy between guard and tackle. And then some of the UDFAs they brought in. This could be the last rodeo for AJ Akuri, former 7th-round pick. Also a guy that I'm thinking of somebody else develops, depending on how deep the Rams want to go, DeJuan Johnson, the former Mr. Irrelevant. This could be his last roundup, and I like the guy, right? I like him. I just think of how the Rams have kind of had these guys come in and play. Marquise Copeland. Remember Marquise Copeland? Guy hung around for 4 years, started a little more than a half dozen games. Jonah Williams hung around. Rams even brought him back for a cup of coffee last year before he ended up back in Minnesota. They have these guys. They're not exactly Greg Gaines types. We know what Greg Gaines was. They're not at Greg Gaines level. But DeJuan Johnson, I like DeJuan Johnson. I'd like to see him stay. It's a good story. But I'm wondering if, with the drafting of Hamilton, the development of Tank Davis, if this could be it for him. Also, another guy I think it could be it for, because this guy's been around a long time, is Kier Thomas. And he's even had a couple of moments too. I'm wondering if this is it for Kier Thomas. All right, let's take a look at the boards here. You guys have actually chimed in. I didn't tell you at the start of the show the reason why I came on at 3. I'm still a 5 o'clock guy, but I got a friend, a great friend who's in ICU. He's intubated right now with pneumonia, and he's in serious trouble. And as pastor and friend, I need to be there. So not to let the day job interfere too much here. You're not here for my day job, but that's why I'm on at 3. I apologize for it if you get on later and it's like, man, why wasn't Joe on at 5? I know we really enjoy the back and forth. So wanted to make sure you guys knew that. I do appreciate those of you that are here. Manny Correa. All right, Manuel Correa. It's Emmanuel Fort's time. Manny Vasquez, take your bow, Joe. You called it. All right, Manny. All right, Manuel Correa. It's 5 o'clock. No, it's not. Sorry about that, Mike. Rams don't draft the norm. No, they do not. Wildman Samurai. Stafford is not retiring after this year. I don't think so. Unless he suffers some kind of above-the-shoulder trauma, a neck thing, I think he's good through 2026. And if he's healthy, I'm really excited to see him play through this window. Absolutely, Wildman. Manuel Correa, I see Matt staying until we host the Super Bowl after Levi Stadium does. Okay, there you go. Manuel Correa, I think Tony Fields is going to be fire. I haven't talked a whole lot about him. He's the guy that I think was with the Browns. He actually has some experience. Yeah, and they've kept him around. So it is going to be interesting to see. But do you follow my vibe? I'm not anti-Troy Reeder, but we know what Troy Reeder is. And if he's playing significant snaps, it means like guys like Tony Fields, Omar Spates, was it Dolak, the guy they're talking about there, Landman. These guys have not kind of hit where we thought they would hit, or where Chris Shula and McSnead thought they would hit. I'm happy Reeder's there. I'm not going to be upset if he's on the roster. He's a comfort food. He's comfort food for the Rams, right? They like having him around. It's like John Johnson. They like having him around and available, even though his days are numbered. Manuel Correa, I think Trey Whittig takes Havenstein's spot in 2025, and he's going to have to pass Warren McClendon and then be the guy that steps in. Would he be the guy that steps in when Havenstein is out for a couple games? Because we've seen it the last couple of years, a little twisted ankle here, a little nagging injury there, where Havenstein stepped aside. I'll keep that in mind that you said it, Manny. Keep it in mind. Manny Vasquez, I think Stafford will be the Rams quarterback for at least the next 2 years. All right, good. We're all on the same page. Manny Correa. Oh, thank you. Thank you. His name is Bill. He came to this country in 78, and he's worked with me in ministry for a number of years. So thank you for that. Michael Negretti, no apologies needed, Pastor Joe. The Lord is more important than the football team. Yeah, thank you so much. I do appreciate that, Mike. You guys understanding. This is just where the day job interferes with and it's okay. It's going to take priority. I want it to take priority. I love this. I appreciate your guys' patience. Okay. Little bit of Ram stuff coming up, but not much. But I wanted to talk about the NFC West. I try to add something from the NFC West every time we get together. 49ers, when you look at their offensive line, there's not a lot of depth there, right? And they're counting on a lot of stuff. They did not draft an offensive lineman, which was a guard, until the 7th round. So when you look at their offensive line as it's projected now, first you got the Ancient of Days. You got Trent Williams, who is still a great tackle when he plays. But if something happens to him, right? If something happens to Trent Williams, there's real issues there. This guy's in his mid-30s, and something happened to him last year. Next to him at left guard, they let Aaron Banks walk. They got Brent Barch. He's a former Jacksonville player. He played 65 snaps last year. He's never been a full-time starter. He's turning 26. He's got great size, but he's a non-entity right now. Jake Brendel has become a solid center. He's played over 1,000 snaps each of the last 3 seasons. He's solid. He's not great, but Jake Brendel, an undrafted free agent out of UCLA in 2016, he's 33. So he's got mileage on him. 3 seasons, 1,000 snaps, that's pretty significant. And then so you can match him up with Trent Williams, is there's mileage on the tires here. Now, the 49ers did score with Dominic Puny. I think it was Kansas State, 3rd round last year. Was it Kansas or Kansas State? Either way, he had a really nice rookie year at right guard. And then at right tackle is a guy I take a lot of shots off at is Colton McKivitz. I think he's West Virginia. And he was a 5th rounder, but he's played 1,000 snaps each of the last 2 years. He's not great, right? He's not somebody that's you're going to whatever, but he goes out there and he plays. But overall, and there's not a lot of depth here, this is not a great 49er offensive line. And it's very susceptible. If we think, Kevin Dotson, I'm hoping it's not Coleman Shelton, but Coleman Shelton, Bo Limmer, and then, of course, Steve Avila, these guys are more in their prime, right? And then Alaric Jackson's in his prime. And then Havenstein's a little bit long in the tooth. And the Rams do have pieces behind. I think the Quisenberry signing was good. We saw Justin Diedick play last year. If Coleman Shelton's the starter, you got a depth piece in Bo Limmer. If a Bo Limmer is the starter, you got a center and a guard in Coleman Shelton. So the Rams have some depth here where the 49ers don't, something to keep an eye on. Same thing with the Cardinals. the Cardinals' offensive line is actually, if it stays healthy, really not too bad. Paris Johnson has developed. He had an excellent 2024. Evan Brown, after coming over from Seattle, just playing guard, not center. He had a solid, not great year last year, but solid is exceptional in Cardinal history. And then Hajalti Froholt keeps improving. And I think this is going to be his third year and in terms of being a starter. And he keeps improving. He's coming into his prime. He's one of the better centers in the NFC. And then on the right side, he gets a little shaky. Isaiah Adams was a third rounder last year out of Illinois. We're going to see whether he improves or not. And then Jonah Williams, the former first-round pick of the Bengals. He took less than 400 snaps last year in his first year in Arizona. He needs to stay healthy. And again, just not a lot of depth there for the Cardinals. And that's critical in terms of, where the pressure's coming from for Kyler Murray, I'm sorry. And yeah, we know Kyler Murray. There's a point where he doesn't want anymore, right? And what I mean by that, when he doesn't want anymore, it means you don't want to get hit anymore, right? That's why there was such an interesting conversation this offseason where he said he's willing to run. I'm going to hold off on Seattle's offensive line until on Wednesday. But former Ram linebacker Ernest Jones, they reported is recovering well from his offseason knee surgery. Seahawks gave him 3 years, 33 rocks, 15 guaranteed. Would you have given him that to stay with the Rams? I liked Ernest Jones. But we also know we won a Super Bowl with Troy Reeder and a rookie, Ernest Jones. Sorry, allergies. There we go. But there's something about Ernest Jones' knee that concerns me, right? There's something about that knee of his that he had surgery on that seems fishy to me. And he played really well for the Seahawks. And he played well against the Rams. But you know what? The Rams won up there, right? And so and that was after Puka Nacua got thrown out for that ridiculous flag. But Ernest Jones, I don't know if he's a game changer. I don't know if that's not heretical. And so I'm happy the Seahawks gave him 3 years, 33-15 guaranteed, and keeps them just, anything that ties the hands of your opponents. That's a good thing. All right. You guys know me. I'm Joe Terosian. As a sports writer for 21 years, still do contribute to Mid-Valley Sports right now. And so that's what I do. I also write books. My books are on Amazon. You can check them out there. This one's a pretty good one. Temple City Company of the Ages, really fast read. And check them out there. Appreciate your support in that. And along with our sponsors, Kistler Law, who I was not being cute to earlier, allows me to stay employed in my day job as I pastor a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And we are right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual all across social media. If you have any questions about that, feel free to contact me. And also, we are back on iHeart right now and Spotify with our podcast, the audio version of this. Those things land the day after, so they'll land tomorrow morning. All right, let's look around the NFL and other places. Packers released cornerback Jair Alexander. He had a great run up there in Lambeau. He's only, I don't think you could say someone's only 28 in the NFL. He's got mileage, and he's only appeared in 14 games the last 2 years. And there was talk about the Rams. People were floating things out there about the Rams dealing for Jair. And now he's a free agent. And my feeling is if he wants to chase a ring and he wants to come to SoFi dirt cheap and chase a ring, come on down. We'll put Charles Woods in the street and we'll make him a rotation piece along with Darius Williams, who's 32, Okilla Witherspoon, who's not a full 18-week starting cornerback, Emmanuel Forbes, and of course Kobe Durant, who's in his contract year. Let Jair come chase a ring. Let him play about 600, 700 snaps and maybe be fresh in the postseason and everything. Does he want a ring, right? Does he want a ring? Is he willing to come for a couple of rocks? And then we can put to bed, not that I'm anti-Jalen. I just don't want to give up any capital in next year's draft because, again, a fifth rounder to the Rams in a loaded draft is a premium pick because the Rams seem to know what to do. But Jair Alexander is that. Could he go to Detroit? Detroit's kind of settled their cornerback issue a little bit. They made some moves. It'd be interesting to see where he lands because he's a free agent and he wants an opportunity, right? Cardinals should be all over him with Sean Murphy Bunting down. The Cardinals should be all over him, but I don't know if the Cardinals would get the deal that the Rams would want. Coming to the Rams, you're playing for a Super Bowl. Coming to the Cardinals, so they'd have to pay him more money. So something to think about there. Lamar Jackson. This came up in today. Lamar Jackson not at the voluntary workouts for the Ravens. It's not a big deal, and then it's a bad deal. Dude's always in shape, always plays hard, is a great leader. His teammates love him. My most negative thing I could ever say about Lamar Jackson is he's just not a great passer, right? And it always shows up in January. But, however, the quarterback, based on the money they make for any team and importance to the team, can't we just admit what quarterback is when you're making it over 50, 55 rocks? You're part of management. Let's just be real, right? And you're kind of the quasi coach, right? My feeling is at that point, you should be at OTAs. I don't think anybody else has to be at OTAs. I don't think Derrick Henry has to be at OTAs. But if you're the quarterback, I think you should be. I don't even think you have to be playing, but you should be sitting in the room. You should just be getting familiar with everybody. Football's a grind. Football's tough, and those guys earn all their time off. But it's not like he's got another job, right? Show up to the office there for a few days, 72 hours, whatever it is, and just be a presence. And so, I didn't get that. I know some people don't have a problem. Some people have a real problem. My feeling is it's always going to be an issue until he strings together a couple of playoff wins, right? It's always going to be an issue until he gets to February, because he hasn't gotten to February, and there's always a disappointment there for them because he does have limitations. And I'm not saying if he's at OTAs, it's going to correct all those limitations, but you're making that kind of bread and you are the team leader and everyone respects you. Let them see your face. You need to be there. Amen. Amen. Okay. Let's see. Someone else clocked in. Let's see. Michael Negretti, Pastor Joe, do you think the Rams should go after Alexander? Whoa, I didn't see the question. I just gave you my thoughts. Wildman Samurai, don't forget Chris Paul Jr. and Sean Dolak. Oh, you nailed me, Wildman. I remembered Dolak and I forgot Chris Paul. So just or Poo Paul, right? Just another reason to be a little apprehensive if Troy Reader's playing more than 500 snaps, right? Thank you. Manny Correa, appreciate y'all. And thank you so much. Michael Negretti, Bo knows football. There you go. Manny Vasquez, 49er, easiest schedule in the last 10 years in the NFL, fourth easiest over the last 25 years, but they'll get exposed in the playoffs. My feeling about that, Manuel Vasquez, is they got to get through the Rams twice, the Cardinals twice, and the Seahawks twice. None of those things are easy rides. None of them. And they got to hope Trent Williams, Jake Brendel, and Nick Bosa and that defense stays healthy, right? That's what they got to hope it all stays healthy. And Fred Warner, Kittle, right? And, is there a problem brewing at receiver? Ayuk is still not back. Pearsall's got a little bit of a leg issue. Everyone loves Juwan Jennings. We got that. But, I'm not – I know it's an easy schedule, but I don't know if the 49ers are that tough. And I could be absolutely wrong. And if they do go to the playoffs, I think you're probably right. It could be a one and done. Let's see. Manning Vasquez, we did win the Super Bowl with Reader, but in all fairness, we also had Darnold, Miller, Ramsey. So Reader's weaknesses didn't hurt. Yeah, again, that's why the Rams don't play for that linebacker spot, right? That's why they're not going to give 3 years, 33 rocks, 15 guaranteed for a linebacker spot. I think so. Manuel Correa, would you take Alexander or Ramsey? I'd take Ramsey. Because I've seen Ramsey play up close more than Alexander. But at Ramsey, you can move them all over the field. And I don't think either one of them are a shutdown guy anymore. But you can move Ramsey in so many different ways. That's why I like Ramsey. And we know the Rams know what kind of a person Ramsey is in the clubhouse. So that's where I That's where I lead. That's where I would lean. Brian Smith, Jalen Ramsey isn't needed. No, I don't think he is needed, but he'd be a great resource to have, right? And maybe the price goes down in midseason. Who knows? Manuel Correa, Joe, remember when players used to live in training camp? Yeah, I remember there was mini camp and then there was training camp, and I never heard of a OTA, right? Off-season workouts and everything. Yeah, the world has changed. Brian Smith, Alexander is washed. He's washed if he's trying to make the money he was making in Green Bay. He's washed if you expect him to play 1,000 snaps. He's washed if you're expecting the shutdown guy that he was a few years ago. But if you're looking for a guy to be a rotational piece in your cornerback room, chasing a ring, highly motivated to get some hardware before he leaves the game, then you can use him to dry the dishes there, so to speak. Let's see. Michael Negretti, Ramsey, his name says Rams. There you go. Manuel Vasquez, Alexander always seems to be hurt. No thanks. Yeah, 14 games in 2 years. 14 games in 2 years. You guys called it. There we go. Okay, I have my AFC top 10. I did the NFC top 10 on Friday, just breaking down. I don't know where to start here because I got more to say about my 10th team because I was doing some homework over the weekend on them than I do my first team. But I'll start at number one and work my way backwards. Number one's Buffalo, but they need to break through. This is really the year they need to break through. I think they draft well, and I know they got a little bit of an issue there with James Cook. They got to settle on, but we really need, because I think you're going to have hard conversations about McDermott, right? Remember the Tony Dungy issues at the end of the 90s? He really brought, after those that brief 3 or 4 year period there from 79 through 82 with McKay, when Doug Williams kind of matured and he got to the playoffs a few times. The last time after that, they didn't have a steady hand until Tony Dungy came in and settled things down. They brought in Ray Perkins, Sam Weiss, nothing ever worked, right? And then Tony Dungy came in and they built from the ground up and got rid of the creamsicle, went to the pewter, all that stuff. And then the talk was he couldn't get them over the top, and that's when they moved him out. He went to Indy, and basically John Gruden won a title with Tony Dungy's roster. I think Buffalo might be looking at something like that if they don't break through. They got to at least get to the Super Bowl. They're 0-4 in the Super Bowl. I'm not expecting them ever to win a Super Bowl. It's Buffalo, right? But they got to break through. And Baltimore right now is the second best team, I think. And I'm not saying that because Lamar Jackson's not at OTAs, but we know what they are. Everyone is going to be saying Lamar Jackson in September and October. They're going to be a Super Bowl team, right? Everyone talks Super Bowl, and it doesn't happen in December and January. And honestly, what do you think, right? Are they really a Super Bowl team? They might be the second best team in the AFC, but is anyone really believing they're going to the Super Bowl? If they get there, hats off to them. Kansas City Chiefs, I don't like their offensive line. You never understand what they're doing sometimes, but you can't count them out. You just can't. You can't count them out. Chargers, I got the Chargers as the fourth best team. Harbaugh Mojo versus Spanos Juju, right? And that's the thing holding back the Chargers, right? It's always going to be the Spanos curse, right? I like Harbaugh. I like what the Chargers have done. They've taken great steps. I like their moves. I'd like another receiver for Herbert, but they've taken great steps. And they have an opportunity to make a little movement here, but it's the Spanos Juju, right? It's what Spanos, it's just bad vibes. My number 5 team, I got the Bengals. Not a Super Bowl team, but a season wrecker. They're going to ruin a few people's seasons. I think they're going to score points. I think they're going to cause damage. And then they'll fall short. But then, of course, you got to keep Burrow healthy. But no, they're not a Super Bowl team, but they're a season wrecker. I got the Patriots at number 6. That's tentative right now. They're back in the playoffs, but they've done some great work this offseason. They got a legitimate NFL head coach. But 2026 is when we should start marking the time for the Patriots that we expect something more out of them. Broncos at number 7. Can Bo Nix improve? This is a real wild card team, the Broncos. Broncos, to me, are a real wild card team, and they've made some acquisitions that, if they all pay off, that they could leapfrog the Patriots and maybe leapfrog the Patriots overall, but leapfrog the Chargers, maybe even Kansas City in the AFC West. The Texans, I have them at number 8, tentatively. Don't like their offensive line. Don't like what they've done. Number 9, I got the Dolphins. Don't trust Tua, nor an aging Tyreek Hill. And I think Mike McDaniel, I think the bill's coming due. I think the kid is okay. I don't think he's great, right? I think we've been waiting for that big breakthrough with him. He was a new genius. It just doesn't feel like a genius anymore. And then the Steelers. I had the Steelers at number 10. And I know Steeler fan Rob's going to curse me no matter what I say, but I can honestly see now with Aaron Rodgers. Let's just, and I said this on Friday, let's look at the Steelers and say, what if everything goes right? What if everything goes remotely as it should go? Are they better than the Dolphins then? Yeah. Can they beat the Texans? Absolutely. Can they beat the Broncos? Yeah. Can they beat the Patriots? Yeah. Can they beat the Bengals? Yeah. Right? So I think there's real potential there for them. Let's just say everything goes right. Even with Lamar Jackson healthy, I can still see the Steelers taking second place if everything goes right in the AFC North. You know, Steeler fan Rob will say, not the Ratbirds. We always beat the Ratbirds. Okay, but let's just keep it in the land of the living here in the real world. I can see the Steelers finishing second in the AFC North, getting a home playoff game, and then can they get a playoff win? Only the second one in Cam Hayward's career, the first one in TJ Watt's career. And if that happens, TJ Watt will be 32 years old when he gets his first playoff win. He turns 32 this season. 32. Hayward's 36. Minka Fitzpatrick will be turning 29. They brought in Darius Slay, who's projected as a starter. He's 34. Let's just say they stay healthy. They stay healthy, and that offensive line is what Broderick Jones is supposed to be at left tackle, Zach Frazier at center, and Troy Fontenot, who was a first-round pick last year, who only played 35 snaps. He gets to right tackle and he plays well. Yeah, and then Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a meltdown and DK Metcalf doesn't have a meltdown. You need something more than Robert Woods. Ram fans, forgive me, but he's toast. And they could make some noise. I saw a ridiculous trade speculation that had the Steelers giving the Taxkins a first-round pick and a fifth-round pick. I think it was the one they got for George Pickens to the Taxkins for Terry McLaurin. Now, I like Terry McLaurin. I like Terry McLaurin a lot. I don't know why the Taxkins would give up on Terry McLaurin when he's probably the best thing going for Jaden Daniels, right? You don't want to count on Deebo Samuel. But the other thing is, why would the Steelers give up a first-round pick for a receiver who's been around forever, given that next year's draft is supposed to be loaded with some ripe tomatoes, right? A lot of tomatoes in next year's first draft to pluck off the tree, and maybe a future quarterback. I thought that was a ridiculous trade speculation. Steelers wouldn't be giving up a number 1 pick, maybe a 5th and a 3rd, or I don't even think that. Maybe a 5th and a 7th or something. But I like Terry McLaurin. He's really good, but I don't get that trade. I'll let Steeler fan Rob chime in on that one. All right, cool. I think we got to it here. Yeah, we did.
It was a stone groove, my man.
All right, happy birthday to DeMarco Farr. DeMarco Farr is 54 years old today. DeMarco Farr became a starting defensive tackle for the Rams as an undrafted, undersized free agent out of the University of Washington. And DeMarco Farr had, a 7-year run with the Rams, played in 2 Super Bowls. Or no, he just played in the 1 Super Bowl and was there from 94, I think, to 2000. So I think he was a Los Angeles Ram. I don't think he was around for 2001. And he's had a great career. And honestly, I don't mind hearing Farr on the radio. My problem is I tune into KMPC. Well, it's not KMPC. It's KESPN right now on 710. That used to be the old Ram station, KMPC at 710 a.m. I tuned in at different times. I'm driving, right? I'm leaving my house and I'm just hitting the channels and they're talking about movies. Him, that other guy that used to do Ram Talk, Travis Rogers, and some girl. And I get on the freeway. I don't like the song on one station. I don't like what they're talking about on the other station. I go back to 710 and they've gone from favorite movies to, what their favorite food is. And I'm like, is this sports talk or what? But on those rare occasions, when you get sports talk radio actually talking about sports, DeMarco Farr's got a good voice. You like to hear his stories, really like to hear what he has to say. June 9th, 1999. This is a little bit Shakespearean. Toby Wright, who who played in the back porch with Keith Lyle. They were matching safeties back there for the Rams through the bulk of the 90s after the Rams went to St. Louis. Toby Wright was a starter 95 through 97 with Keith Lyle. He gets hurt in 98, plays 3 games, and then gets cut on this day, June 9th, 1999, ends up signing with the Redskins. It's the last year of his career, but he misses the Super Bowl run. He goes through all the heck and then doesn't get a chance to go on that Super Bowl run. He kind of reminds me, lesser scale. You know, the 46 defense for the Bears was named after Doug Plank, right? Gary Fensick was the guy they drafted or signed. I can't remember. Was he drafted or was he signed? But he was from Yale, right? Everyone knows who Gary Fensick is, but him and Doug Plank played at Ohio State for Woody Hayes. And they were matching safeties, kind of like the Poyer, Micah Hyde of our generation. And Doug Plank wore number 46, a favorite of Buddy Ryan. And Plank played up through 84. Can you imagine playing, I think, from 77 or 76, 8 years, 9 years, or whatever it was for the Bears, going through all that stuff, going through the Jack Pardee, the Neil Armstrong, all those head coaches until you got to Buddy Ryan being there and Ditka and McMahon, and then finally winning the Super Bowl, and then you're hurt and you don't make the roster in 85. I think they gave him a ring anyway, but that was just heartbreaking that you're there for all of that and you missed that run. And Toby Wright is that guy to me as a Ram, right? He's that guy that was around through the 90s. I watched him from a distance because they were in St. Louis and I didn't have DirecTV at that time. So I was kind of sad for him when he was gone. You know, you really thought about it when you realized Toby Wright's not here. And he wasn't great. He wasn't Doug Plank, but he was just one of those guys that kind of steadied things along with Keith Lyle. Reminds me of Don Sutton. Don Sutton pitched for the Dodgers from 66 through 1980. He lost the 66 World Series to the Orioles, lost the 74 series to the A's, lost the 77 and 78 series to the Yankees. In his last game with the Dodgers in 1980, he pitched in game 162. Dodgers swept a 3-game series to force a playoff. He came in and picked up the save, right? That was his last appearance originally with the Dodgers. And of course, you know, Lasorda started Dave Goltz instead of Fernando. Who knew? Dodgers got blown out by the Astros. Season ended. Then he signed with the Astros in 81. They fell to the Dodgers. Ended up with the Angels later on, or the Brewers. They lost to the Cardinals. Ended up with the Angels. They lost in 86 to the Red Sox. I think he was still with the Angels in 86. And then he comes back to the Dodgers in 88. I saw him pitch and get blown out against the Mets. And he's released in August. And this guy's always getting this close to World Series champions. And it just happens. There's just people that are kind of Shakespearean, you know, small t tragedy in their careers. Anyway, I digress. I went too long. Let's see if any other questions came in before I wrap this thing up. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Toby Wright was a hitter. Yes, he was. Tim Burns, Brian is right. Ramsey is a luxury, but not needed. I agree. Everyone's saying hi to their peeps, their amigos. Okay, guys, it's 38-minute mark. I've got a boogie. Boogie, was this the 70s? I got a jet. Is this the 80s? I got to go. All right. Thanks for your time. Thanks for understanding. I'll get this spread around social media when I get back later. God bless. Take care. And we'll see you Wednesday.